This is the Georgia Farm Monitor. Since 1966, your source for state and national agribusiness news, and features for farmers and consumers about Georgia's #1 industry, agriculture. The Georgia Farm Monitor is produced by the state's largest general farm organization, the Georgia Farm Bureau. Now, here are your hosts, Ray DeLisio and Kenny Burgamy.
Hi there, glad you could join us for another episode of the Georgia Farm Monitor. I'm Kenny Burgamy, flying solo while Ray enjoys some R&R. Coming up today on the Farm Monitor, Damon Jones takes us to Bullock County, putting football and agriculture together. We'll show you how he did it. Also on the show, the story of how USDA came to the aid of this rural Georgia town, and then later.
Hey everybody, Ranger Nick coming up. If you've got somebody in your life that enjoys the outdoors but feels limited by a disability, I'm going to introduce you to a gentleman that started a program right here in Georgia that's gone nationally that's involving folks with disabilities in the outdoors, hunting and fishing. You're not going to want to miss this. And it all starts right now on the Georgia Farm Monitor.
Georgia farmers have faced many challenges in 2016. Producers have had to deal with low commodity prices, dry weather, and some devastating storms. That has many farmers eyeing their calendars and counting down the days until 2016 comes to a close. Mark Wildman has the story.
At the start of every year, farmers never expect to see sights like this pecan tree. High winds from Hurricane Matthew were just some of the troubles farmers faced in 2016. Here in Screven County, Georgia Farm Bureau President Gerald Long and Georgia's Commissioner of Agriculture Gary Black heard from producers that suffered a lot of crop damage from the hurricane.
So, my heart goes out to them and prayers that somehow that we are survivors. We figure out some way to make it. But with a combination of low commodity prices, drought, and now this, it's going to be very difficult.
At a meeting with cotton producers in Ben Hill County, Georgia's 8th District Congressman Austin Scott met with producers about conditions that have hurt their farming operations.
A lot of concerns out there. Obviously, commodity prices are low. Part of it is a function of the fact that our dollar is so high in the United States, but a lot of concern about total revenue versus total expenses out there right now. I think anybody affiliated with agriculture knows it's one of the tougher years we've had. A lot of concern about yields, a lot of concern about where is the money going to come from to plant the farm next year?
Ben Evans runs Coffee County Gin in Douglas, Georgia. He deals with growers all over the area and says producers are having a very difficult time.
We definitely have had some dryland growers that have just had an absolutely catastrophic crop. The way the rains fell this summer, they were very, very sporadic throughout the countryside, and you can have one field that got a 2-inch rain and go a mile down the road and you got no rain. And the yields have reflected that coming into the gin so far. As far as the color grades on our cotton, it's been excellent. As we all know, it's not rain, but you look at the fiber characteristics coming in, you can tell a dryland field that burned up and didn't get any rain.
Georgia's economy depends greatly on farming, and when agriculture has a bad year, it has an effect on many different sectors of the economy.
Whether it's the tax revenue that our local school systems depend on, the local car dealer being able to sell new trucks. If farming's good and farmers are making money, things are good for the economy in rural Georgia. When farmers aren't making money, things are tough on the rural economy in Georgia, and it's felt all the way through local school budgets, local car dealers, tractor dealers. Obviously, when yields are down in cotton, that means that your cotton ginners aren't ginning as much cotton, and so it has a tremendous impact. We are agriculture, and when farmers have a good year, most of the people in Georgia are going to have a good year. And when farmers have a bad year, we're all going to share in that pain.
So as 2016 comes to a close, farms across the state are hoping 2017 brings better market and weather conditions, so farmers and the state's economy can benefit. I'm Mark Wildman for the Georgia Farm Monitor.
Two things people in the state of Georgia take great pride in are agriculture and college football. And recently, those two worlds came together as Georgia Southern hosted a Celebrate Georgia agriculture game in front of a national audience. Damon Jones tells us why it's an event beneficial for both the agricultural industry and the university.
There were more than 20,000 Eagle fans packed into Paulson Stadium to show their support for the Georgia Southern football team. And the university made sure to show their support for agriculture by placing the state's #1 industry in the spotlight. The Celebrate Georgia Agriculture game was a chance to expose a number of fans and students to all the good work farmers do in the area.
The whole reason we decided to do this was because there's 25,000 kids who are now at Georgia Southern. And I guarantee you not 10% of those kids realize where their food and fiber comes from. We live right here in Statesboro, and all around Statesboro and the surrounding counties, there's agriculture everywhere. People ride by tractors, ride by fields all the time. They really have no idea where it all comes from.
It's also an opportunity to show just how diverse the industry can be and that students from all different backgrounds can find something that interests them.
We want our students to understand that despite the fact that we don't have an agriculture program per se, that students who are graduating in business, students who are graduating in communications studies, engineering, can have an impact in agribusiness and the agricultural workforce.
With nearly half of the students attending Georgia Southern coming from rural areas, attracting people looking to get into the agricultural industry is also a priority.
And by having these opportunities to show those students that they can take what they're learning in higher education and apply it in those agricultural fields and have impact back home in rural Georgia, I think it's an extremely important connection that we can make between what we do in higher education and what exists back home for them.
This event also provided a diverse demographic as students, children, and their parents got an up-close look at just how much farmers impact their everyday life.
So it's always nice to interact with the kids, and lots of times if you can get the kids to come and do a little tractor race or give them a little trinket of some sort, they'll go back and talk with their parents about it. But it's also a great chance to talk with older folks and their parents and get them to actually reconnect with agriculture, because even though we live right here, people forget what it's about all the time.
It's a message Georgia Farm Bureau President Gerald Long is more than happy to spread, as the organization was one of the main sponsors for the event. And with the initial success, he hopes it will continue, hopefully on a larger scale.
It is very exciting to see this, to see Farm Bureau and agriculture being recognized by a major college in the state. You know, my challenge is I hope other colleges in the state will look at this, because this is a great opportunity not only for Farm Bureau but for agriculture to show themselves to the public.
It's the first time we really did anything of this magnitude at Georgia Southern, but we wanted to try to make as big a splash as we could and hopefully do something that we could build on in the future.
Reporting from Statesboro, I'm Damon Jones for the Georgia Farm Monitor.
When we come back, take a trip with us to Atlanta and see how the oldest airline still operating in the U.S. got its start in the farm fields of Macon, Georgia. If you depend on crop dusting for your crops, you can thank a few men that started that service in Georgia. It opened the door to fight the boll weevil and gave flight to what is now a major U.S. airline company. We paid a recent visit to the newly renovated Delta Flight Museum in Atlanta to get more details.
Hi, my name is Tiffany Meng. I'm the Director of Operations at the Delta Flight Museum. My job is to make sure that our visitors have a very good experience here at the museum. So I oversee visitor relations, our front desk staff, our facilities and aircraft maintenance, our surplus sales, our volunteers, our development, and our marketing. So a little bit of everything here at the museum. In the museum, they will see exhibits devoted to crop dusting, to early passenger service, what passenger service was like in the 40s and the 50s. When a museum visitor comes, they're going to see a handful of people working at the front desk and the simulator. But we really have a staff of about 22 people that work all around, behind the scenes, in the archives, and at the front. We're led by President John Boatwright.
Well, actually, it goes back into the mid-teens when Dr. Code and C.E. Woolman, who ultimately was our founder of Delta Air Service and then Delta Airlines, they were working for the Louisiana Extension Service and looking for a way to get rid of the boll weevil. So from there grew the interest in crop dusting and how to do it. And they were very successful in coming up with a formula to do so. And so it started in the Mississippi Delta, and they would dust in that area during the summertime here in the U.S., and then they would go to Peru in the wintertime.
In 1990, a group of retirees got together, Delta retirees, and said, you know, we really should have a museum. So they did research on trying to find one of Delta's first 5 DC-3s, and they found Ship 41, Delta's first DC-3 to carry passengers, being flown as a cargo plane in San Juan, Puerto Rico. The museum not only collects what you see, but also what you don't see. We have a huge corporate archives that also maintains our museum's nonprofit collection. And in the corporate archives are records, are some of the artifacts that are not on display here at the museum. And it's a really cool facility, but it's not open to the general public.
Images that were taken by employees here at the company, as well as collections that we have from Dr. Code, who was an entomologist who was with the USDA, based originally at the lab in Tallulah, Louisiana. We definitely have records and writings and reports that he did and that we have in our collections here. We have early advertisements for Huffdale and Dusters. We have these flyers that basically say, come to our crop dusting demonstration, learn about why it's beneficial for you as a farmer to use aerial dusting as opposed to the ground dusting they were doing. It's going to cost you a little bit more, but it's worth it. It's basically the message.
For more information about the Delta Flight Museum, visit deltamuseum.org or like us on Facebook. We're Delta Museum or Delta Flight Museum.
Well, sometimes we may forget about all the benefits of USDA and the organization's rural development services. In this story from Dooley County, we're reminded of the help USDA gives the essential community functions beyond the farm.
If you talk to Jill Stuckey, she'll tell you she has the best job in the world.
You know, I just have the best job in the world because a lot of folks don't know where to find that seed. They don't know to look to USDA.
Stuckey said knowing that the Department of Agriculture has assisted the city with a loan of more than $850,000 for the purchase of the city's fire station is exciting.
It is indeed. We are one of the only groups that really bring money into these poor rural areas. And we have a lot of food-based programs as well, value-added agriculture grants that we have available. So it's just a wide diversity of help, trying to bring economic development into areas that typically need a lot of economic development.
The USDA's Rural Development Program will help that city save about $1,100 per month on what the city was paying to lease the facility.
And they had a fire station and a loan on it, and we were able to save them over $800,000 for the length of that loan, over $1,000 a month, that they can utilize that money right here to tackle other issues in the city.
The USDA Community Facility Direct Loan Payment on the 2.75% interest rate 20-year term creates a savings that allows the city to advance its goals for housing and community facility services, something that is vital for rural Georgia.
It's almost undescribable. It is so important to what USDA does for these rural areas.
Mayor Hobby Stripling told us it's hard to describe the benefits of what USDA has done for his community and others around the state.
We built a new city hall several years ago, and the city has continued to apply for and receive funds for police vehicles, just all kinds of things. And it, as I say, it's almost undescribable how important it is.
We have money for cities, for counties, and for nonprofits. This year alone, we have issued over $61 million in loans and nearly $1 million in grants to to rural areas in Georgia. So we do a lot of different things and a lot of good things trying to help economic development. We also have a business and industries program. So if you want to build a business in rural Georgia, then you come to us and maybe we can help you find get a loan guarantee to start that business up or refinance an existing one.
Hey everybody, coming up, I'm going to introduce you to the man that started a program that's getting folks with disabilities out all over the United States hunting and fishing. Stay tuned.
When it comes to consumers choosing what protein they will buy, the grocery store is the front lines. That's why the Beef Checkoff program is helping train retailers to ensure they have the information they need to market beef. We learn more about this effort as Brian Baxter reports from Tennessee.
It's a busy sale day at the Mid-South Livestock Center, and as usual, Christina McKee is helping cattle producers get their animals to market.
I've had many roles over my short lifetime, but the one I'm most proud of is the 30-plus years that I've spent in the livestock auction business.
As one of the partners in an auction market, Christina helps collect the $1 per head beef checkoff when each animal is sold. Over the years, she's been a strong advocate for beef promotion, serving as a director on the Tennessee Beef Council.
We've targeted millennials for the last several years, but we're trying to reach all consumers that stand at the meat case, may be concerned about making the appropriate choices for their family.
That's why the checkoff works to educate retailers and equip them to more effectively answer questions as they serve as the main point of contact for many consumers.
A wonderful on-package labeling with temperature times, recipes, suggestions has been invaluable to our millennial cooks and even some of those older cooks that aren't so comfortable in the kitchen. We have tried to do on-farm tours, encouraging retailers to see the process from farm to a marketable product. They are so much better educated now on factual information about the nutritional value, the health benefits, and the quality of beef product that checkoff funds have made available.
From providing nutrition information to developing new recipes, Christina believes beef checkoff programs are making an impact.
I couldn't be more proud of what's done. I have seen how effective and efficient those dollars have been spent. Having served on numerous checkoff committees, I know the good work that's being done. And at the end of the day, if as a producer, and if I did not support my checkoff, I don't know who I think would be on my side and have my back and do that.
In Tennessee, I'm Brian Baxter reporting.
Well, finally today, it's estimated that close to 65 million people in the U.S. live with some type of disability. And according to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, about 11% of them take part in some type of wildlife-related activity. But as Ranger Nick shows us, there's one gentleman whose mission is not only making that number go higher, but to make their disabilities a non-issue altogether.
Well, if you watch the Georgia Farm Monitor, you know that old Ranger Nick is a fan of the outdoors and that we're a fan of Georgia grown. I want to introduce you to a gentleman that started an organization called Outdoors Without Limits, OWLS for short, which first of all, I love the name. Mr. Kirk Thomas is with me. He started an organization right here in Winterville, Georgia to involve folks with disabilities to get outside and hunt and fish. Mr. Thomas started this because of a personal story that he had an injury back several years ago. Would you share with us the story of what inspired you to start OWLS?
Well, about in 1992, I had a hunt lease in Alabama where I lived at that time, and went down there to go hunting that weekend, and went in on my stand and passed a real nice buck because I didn't want to fool with him basically, and was walking back to my truck and had a tree fall on me and landed on my shoulders, went down, kicked me out, but as a result of that, it absolutely crushed my back, and then you know, I'm a T12 paraplegic today because of it.
And so this event happened to you, and we may talk a little bit later of it. Maybe this was meant to be because this happened to you and it inspired you to start this organization. Talk to us about that moment when you said, I want to do something to help others that are in a situation like myself to enjoy the outdoors like you've always done.
Well, first of all, Nick, I've always looked at it as the greatest blessing of my life. You know, I was just in the right place at the right time, and I thank God every day for it. But what inspired me basically is I got involved with the Alabama Independent Living Council, and the first meeting I went to, there were 50 or 60 disabled people in there, and at that time I didn't know there was 50 or 60 disabled people in the world other than me. But, you know, when I got around these folks, I started asking, do you hunt, do you fish? And the answer was always no. And then, you know, why? And then, of course, it became, well, nobody to take me. I've never been. I can't afford it, stuff like that. So there's so many barriers, you know, keeping them from participating, something I took for, you know, granted. And then what most people take for granted, you know.
Right.
So it bothered me. And then, you know, in 1996, I envisioned the Wheeling Sportsman program and got it up and running. And very successful program today with the NWTF. And then, but, you know, it was time for me to move on. And so 8 years ago, I started Outdoors Without Limits, you know.
Now, let's say I'm watching at home. I've got a disability and I've been outside of getting out in the outdoors for a while. Want to get involved. Mr. Thomas, what do I do? How do I get involved in the house?
Well, you know, we're totally inclusive. We recognize anybody with a disability, and we want to give them that opportunity to experience what most people take for granted. And all they got to do is just go to the website, contact us, go to Facebook, then just get in touch with us. I mean, we want them involved.
Yeah, and you're going to talk to this man right here and email with this man, the big boss of the whole organization, which I think is so amazing. It's such a family-oriented group. So if I'm disabled, I reach out to this guy. The answer is yes, you can be involved. Let's say I'm somebody that wants to go out and maybe help an individual with a disability and serve as a guide on a hunt or fishing trip. What do I do then?
Well, same thing. You just contact us, let us know you have interest in getting involved. We'll explain to you what we do and how we do it and things like that. But, you know, we're totally volunteer dependent, so we have to have volunteers. So I encourage anybody to step up and help us change and save lives. I promise you, they'll get theirs saved just as well.
So I'm standing out here below one of the many deer stands out on this piece of property, and the difference that Owls has made has got to just be incredible. If anybody would know what difference Owls has made, it would be the guy that started it 8 years ago. Mr. Thomas, some snippets of the most special moments and things that you have seen over those years. Tell us about that.
You know, Nick, it's amazing. We've had participants come to our events that were contemplating suicide, and we've changed their life and saved their life. And we've seen people who thought it was nothing other than a beer can or liquor bottle, you know, involved in their life, and we've seen those thrown away. And we've even had participants that met families that, you know, to be honest with you, they've even got adopted. So, I mean, the focus is opportunity. Yeah. And our focus is changing and saving lives, and that's what we do. Whether you're disabled, whether you're not, it doesn't matter. You get involved with Owl, we're going to change and save your life.
It's incredible. I hope that this has inspired you today like you have. Thank you so much, Mr. Thomas, for spending time with me. Absolutely. You're really an inspiration to a lot of folks. And check out that link on the screen there to learn more about owls. And while you're online, check out our Facebook page at Ranger Nick and the Georgia Farm Monitor Facebook page. And for all of us at the Monitor, I'm Ranger Nick, reminding you that enthusiasm is contagious. And I hope you pass it on just like we've learned from Mr. Thomas today. Y'all, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you right back here again next month. See ya.
Well, that's going to do it for this week's edition of the Georgia Farm Monitor. For all the latest ag info regarding food, great recipes, and what's happening down on the farm, be sure and check out our Twitter, Facebook, and Pinterest pages. Take care. We'll see you next week right here on the Georgia Farm Monitor. Have a great week.